to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. We'll call this meeting of the Lander Council to order at 6:01. Can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy. Let the record reflect that Councilmember Cassidy is not present. Councilmember Dan Hahn.
Present.
Councilmember Cox.
Present.
Councilmember Stubble.
Present.
Councilmember Josh Hahn.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Also present.
You have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Great. Thank you. Next up is approval of the agenda. Could I get a motion in a second, please? Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Cox, seconded by Councilmember Josh Hahn. I don't believe there's any additions or amendments we need, so we'll call for the question, starting with you, Councilmember Hahn.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Great, that passes. Next up is the public hearing for restaurant liquor license number 11, Didamella LLC, DBA Ella's Mediterranean Cuisine, 175 North 4th Street, Lander, Wyoming, 82520. Application filed on the 21st day of May 2026. Proposed location, 175 North 4th Street, Lander, Wyoming, Block 15, North 100 of lots 1 and 2, original town of Lander. So I'll call this hearing open at 6:03. And Rochelle, if you could do us the honor to introduce and read.
The city of Lander received this application for a restaurant liquor license on May 21st. We sent everything to the state. There was a couple of correction memos that the state required. The end of June, Kevin received an email from the state that they had submitted everything that was required by the state. They're requesting a liquor license for their restaurant. They are where the old Domino's was, the Ella's place. There is no cap on the number of restaurant liquor licenses that a municipality can issue, so it's up to this council to decide to grant it or what you want to do.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Next up for this particular topic is public comment. If anyone would like to come, please step to the microphone and give your public comment.
Charles Woolwine. Before I read this little thing I got, I always try to type something up, so keep me on track, no rabbit trails, you know. But I got to tell you, if I was a council member, someone said we're going to have another liquor license, I just vote no. And they'd say, well, why? So, well, we got enough liquor and it's bad for kids. And that's it. That'd be my answer. So you're lucky I'm not a council member. Okay. Well, I must say that no matter what happens on August 18th, you guys have most certainly established a legacy of Lander alcohol that will continue to impact people far into the future, perhaps for generations to come. What about city proclamations that would encourage young people and celebrate their wonderful achievements? Nope, not going to do that. But when it comes to renewing or authorizing more and more and more liquor licenses, of course, you all are always in favor of those. So far, I've never seen you deny even a single liquor license. It's unbelievable. If a restaurant is providing food that people actually like to eat, then to remain financially viable, there's no need for alcohol. Just ask McDonald's, Taco John's, Subway. These restaurants have been around for a long time and seem to be doing quite well without having to sell any alcohol. Why? Because people actually want to eat their food. There's no need for alcohol. Back to your legacy of alcohol. So I started out at your authorized liquor license laundromat, then walked 50 feet to your newly authorized liquor license pizza parlor. From there, it was only a hop, skip, and a jump to your authorized liquor license liquid courage establishment. Great message for kids, right? And now, right around the corner from Liquid Courage, you guys are on the brink of authorizing a liquor license for a place that serves gyros and hummus. And I'm all for gyros and hummus. I wish them well. Just don't need any more alcohol. And if those things are good, they'll sell like McDonald's hamburgers. And if this is not enough to solidify your legacy of alcohol, right in the middle of June, you encouraged and embraced for the 23rd consecutive year an alcohol festival. And then only 21 days later, you allowed people to drink whiskey, wine, beer, and ale from open containers. Under your leadership, with such a blatant, unabashed pro-alcohol agenda, our children are definitely in trouble. Now, before you vote tonight, let me remind you of what Wyoming Statute 12-4-101 regarding the authority of cities and liquor licenses clearly states. Concerning incorporated cities, nothing prohibits a licensing authority of an incorporated city, that's you, from issuing less than the total number of allowable liquor licenses or from refusing to issue any license or permit. That's the law. So tonight, if you vote in favor of yet another needless liquor license, it is simply because that is what you want to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woolwine. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will close at 6:08. Next up is communication from the floor. Please approach the microphone, state your full name for the record. This meeting and comments are electronically recorded. All comments will be limited to 3 minutes. If anyone wants to make public comment, please come up. Thank you.
Charles Woolwine. Subject, request for consideration of an ordinance requiring exit BAC blood alcohol content testing at alcohol festivals and events where alcohol is served or sampled. I respectfully request that the Lander City Council formally consider adopting an ordinance requiring the use of preset breath alcohol testing devices as an exit safety measure at alcohol festivals and similar events where alcohol is served or sampled. The purpose of this proposed ordinance is to promote public safety, reduce alcohol impaired driving risks, and protect residents, families, all children and visitors by providing an objective safety check before attendees leave an event which includes a consumption of the drug alcohol. The proposed ordinance would require, one, is that 3 minutes? No. Okay.
No, but you are a minute in.
I'll quit. Okay. Holler when it's done. I'll just stop. One, all alcohol festivals, beer, wine tastings, and similar events held within the city of Lander where alcohol sampling or sales occur to provide exit BAC, blood alcohol content, breath testing. Two, breath alcohol testing devices to be preset to an established safety threshold before the event begins. Three, attendees who register a BAC above the preset threshold to be provided with appropriate safety interventions, such as arranging a sober ride, designated driver assistance, taxi rides, share options, or other transportation alternatives. Four, event organizers to maintain a written safety plan describing how exit testing and impaired transportation prevention will be handled. The requirement to apply equally to all qualifying alcohol events to ensure consistent public safety standards. Alcohol festivals often involve extended periods of consumption, multiple samples, and unlimited sampling, like at the Brewfest formats. A simple exit blood alcohol content screening process can provide an additional layer of protection by helping prevent impaired individuals from driving or placing themselves and others at risk. I respectfully request that this proposal be officially placed before the City Council for consideration and referred to appropriate city staff or legal counsel for review. And thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Woolwine. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the fifth section, Mayor and Council updates. Councilmember Larson, we'll start with you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Just a few here tonight. Want to thank the city for the renovation that they've done on the terminal building up there at the airport. That really looks nice. You know, over 40, 50 years, it's nice to have an update. So that's good. And I also want to give the community members a pat on the back for the responsible way that they enjoyed their fireworks this last week. You know, with all that was going on, you know, I think they kept Mrs. O'Leary's cow caged up so she didn't kick over the lantern and start the town on fire. So that was great. But with all the activities that we had, you know, it was just a great weekend. And so thank everyone in the whole town for the way that they conducted themselves. And last of all, just invite everyone to attend the community pig roast on the 25th. It'll be a great time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hahn.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to talk a couple of minutes about this visionary, the fiber optics people that have been drilling through people's yards. And I've had several Carls and sprinkler systems, different things in their yard. And I just was bringing this up to let them know where they can go to figure out how to take care of their problems and you know, contact information and that's pretty much it.
Great, thank you.
So
So do you have questions you need answered for that? Or
well, I just is there somebody they come talk to if they have a problem? Is there a phone number? I would think that we should have some sort of answer because some of the people, one of the citizens that were affected had to literally chase the crew down and bring them back to their house and then they were talking to people in the neighborhood that had problems and so and they did not know where to go. So I think that we should have at least some contact information for them to get a hold of.
Yep, thank you. Hunter, I'm going to turn it over to you because I know you've been meeting with their subcontractors, et cetera, on a regular basis.
Yeah. It seems like we're getting about one a week that I'm getting if somebody had a damaged sprinkler line or something happened, and they're very reactive to getting them replaced and fixed as soon as we know where they are. So we do a once a week meeting every Tuesday, which we had one today at noon with all of the underground contractors. So that's Black Hills Energy, that's all the boring companies, that's Rocky Mountain Power, to discuss where things are landing in town and how we can make sure locates are all done right. So but you can send people towards me. I took one this morning and it was already resolved today. So they're usually resolved within 12 hours of me getting them on my desk. They're happy to fix what they know they need to fix out there. So send them right to me and I'll take care of them. They also should be on the flyers that I know may or may not have gone out. We keep stressing that those flyers and door hangers need to go on for every phase of the project. If they have any questions, they deal directly with the contractor. So that's what I do is I put the contractor in contact with the homeowner to get it resolved with what it is, because it is their project, but we help our citizens out with those projects.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Yep. Okay. Councilmember Cox.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of requests and then updates. Update on the softball field. I know that there's only one field that has lights. We've talked about what we're willing to put into those fields, understanding that we don't own that property, et cetera. You certainly don't have to do that update tonight. That's sort of a cold call, and I don't expect that. I was just following up and had some complaints, if you will, because softball games are going to like midnight because they can only play on the one field. So beer league can get a little crazy till midnight, if you know what I mean. The Chamber of Commerce they'll be hosting the Coffee with the Chamber tomorrow morning at 7:15. Next week, it'll be hosted by the Wyoming Life Resource Center. It's a really good opportunity for networking and community engagement. I would encourage you to attend at least one if you can this month. They do a good job of, it's a good opportunity to meet people and talk. And if people have questions, we can send them to Hunter. Agenda requests, I would like to have Lita do an update on what their mission is and what their, I know it's been a little bit stalled. I'd like to hear from them to have some movement. And the reason I'm asking for that is because we had 2 fantastic weekends in Lander where we have an abundance of people. Our restaurants are, thriving with people. Local businesses are doing great amount of work. And so I'd just like to know where we're headed. That'd be my last request.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Stubble.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo and add to perhaps Councilman Larson's thank yous for July 4th. I think lots of gratitude to go around to the community, but I also want to highlight especially our staff. There are so many teams in the city and folks who are working very, very long hours to keep that event safe, the whole day safe, to keep the parks clean and in good maintained. Staff and volunteers, Chief Sywick, thanks to the volunteers on the fire crew who are standing by and ready and are quickly and swiftly responsive. So that's a long hour kind of day. And so thank you, all department heads. Could you share those, the gratitude, I think, from council, with your folks? If they haven't heard it, I'm sure they have, Mayor, already. But yeah, a remarkable day to keep all those moving pieces going in a place that's safe still and family friendly and fun. Then I'll add that for Energy and Environment Task Force, that the pace of work for that group has changed significantly. And I think we were having some conversations with staff and with the volunteers on that crew too about what the future looks like in terms of what projects are still viable and what role they can play with the city and perhaps other entities to still identify energy efficiencies and cost savings. But they are really working hard to try to wrap up the updates to the emissions reduction report that we have, which will identify some of the projects we've been able to implement that have really benefited the city in terms of reducing emissions, but most importantly, saving cash for us. And they'll also be able to weigh in the fall when we find out from the state if we got the latest Wylight grant as well. So stay tuned, I think, for updates as we sort of figure out how do we adopt the structures of that group to the current pacing of available projects. And they do want to come before us when they can present the findings of that report too, which I know we'll be eager to hear. And then I don't have anything to update from the tree board because that crew takes a little bit of a hiatus in the summer. They try to do some volunteer projects around, but they don't have formal meetings. Mayor, I do know that we're looking to make some appointments to fill some gaps. I hope we got some applications in. So that'll be next month, do you think?
Hoping so. I haven't checked to see how many applications we've received, but it sounds like some of the current folks are interested or have reapplied.
Yeah,
which
I
is
heard
awesome.
there's some high degree of interest. So
yeah,
look forward to that crew getting back together once it's cooled down a little bit. Okay, thanks, Mayor.
All right. And Councilmember Hahn.
I got nothing, Mayor.
Okay. My turn. I definitely want to add my gratitude as well to all the city staff, and it really is an all hands on deck to prep for the 4th, during the 4th, and clean up after the 4th. It's amazing how much effort folks put into that. Also, thanks to Keith Trauburst for initiating the reading of the Declaration of Independence and the folks that came. That was a really nice event. I would encourage folks to attend any of the upcoming education sessions about the ambulance. So a couple of highlights for that. The county is applying for some additional funds from the Rural Health Transformation Grant. That doesn't mean that they still don't need financial assistance. One of the preferred options that RASIC is presenting is a public-private one. They believe it's feasible, but even that still needs approximately $3.1 million in funding annually. One of the cool things that's happening in support of that is CWC is starting a program with EMT classes this fall advanced EMT in the spring, and a paramedic certification class in fall of 27. So the hope is that we'll be able to get local folks trained and be able to serve and get jobs in that capacity, which I think is pretty neat. In preparation for our bike ordinance, I've done some outreach with the superintendent, principals, bike clubs, and bike club and bike shops, and they're all, as you can imagine, very willing to help us educate once we come up with kind of what that policy is, because that's going to be a tough one to get the word out to all the folks that are on bikes, which is an impressive number of people around town. It's really neat. I hope you've seen that the fire fuel reduction project has started in McManus Park. That's, I think, a really important one for our community safety, and great that we have assistance from the Conservation Corps. While we still have to have a modest outlay and expenses for that, that's a lot less than if we had all of our staff do that. So that's a great project right there. We're working on finding a date for the next stakeholder small group meeting about the swimming pool. Hopefully that happens at the end of the month. And I know I've got a couple other things here. One of the things is that there's a designation from the federal level about opportunity zones. And in the 1.0 version of that, a significant part of the north end of Lander was eligible. And that's beneficial because there's tax incentives and whatnot for things like developing housing. In the proposed 2.0, that's gone. And so I was part of a presentation today about that, and there is there's a way for us to petition for Lander to be returned to that designation. And one of the things I think is really important to note for that, so this would go to the governor to make that designation, and then it has to go to the U.S. Treasury as the final designation authority for that. But with the land that was so generously allocated to the city to use for housing, up on the side of town, that was in Opportunity Zone 1.0 and has been removed from 2.0. So the idea of losing the financial incentive for developers to participate in that is a pretty big kick. So trying to fight for that one. Then in terms of projects, you may have noticed if you came in the front, we moved the Buena Vista boards to that front so that more folks can see that. Please encourage folks to come down and see that. And again, that'll be the contractor's responsibility to be communicating with landowners, but still, I think it's helpful for all the community to see those kinds of things. And then lastly, the initial economic development impact came out for Central Wyoming Regional Airport. There's a whole lot of data there, but the one that I think is super impressive for us is that tourism spending alone brought in 8.7 million in 2025. So nice to see that impact. And that is it on my end. So with that, we'll turn it over to staff, starting with you, Chief Wong.
Mayor, Council, thanks. I have a lot, honestly. Quickly, I guess, moving forward with our training and long-term development, I've been vocal about mending and building relationships with other entities, and we've been able to capitalize on that on some training. We sent 2 of our staff to the U.S. Marshals in-service training, which was very minimal fee to us of $25 a night. We would never see training anywhere else for that price. We've built relationships with them and then allowed our guys to get some tactical training with that. We were offered the DCI task force officer position. The council will be seeing that in the next council meeting, what that MOU looks like and what that means to us, but that's building partnerships with a state entity. An FBI task force position for our detectives to get Title 18, Title 21, and interwork with the FBI on the reservation, Title 18, Title 21, to where they can enforce. So we can start to help with the overflow of crime off of the reservation into Lander, and we can joint effort combat that crime and how to do that. With that, we've also stepped forward and teamed up with Celebrate Recovery, as well as Trenches to Triumph, to be involved with them after plan, after they come out of incarceration, of how to beat substance abuse, how to move forward. The Trenches to Triumph teach them life lessons, how to cook, different entities to get away from potentially the crowd that pulls them back to their substance abuse. So we've teamed up with them to be partners with them. We have our mental health training that we had last year with the supervisory staff, with the leadership or the Alliance group. They will be back next month for all the boots on the ground to go through the occupational stress training and the mental health side of what they do with officers. So we're continuing forward with that. When I came here in 23, we have an entire room full of less lethal things, such as gases and flashbangs and such. We currently didn't have anybody certified to be handling that or dealing with it. We're sending someone in 2 weeks to a less lethal instructor school so they can get squared away on how to navigate and handle all of those things. Wyoming is the one of only 3 states in the entire nation that have their chiefs and sheriffs joined as one entity to attack law enforcement issues across the state. Myself and 4 other chiefs have been selected to sit down at a table and start a chief subcommittee to where we can start sitting down together and talking about municipal ordinances and different things that we deal with in communities that sheriff's offices don't. So we're helping with that. And then last but not least, the 4th of July. If anybody doesn't have the true concept of the impact the 4th of July has in Lander, first and foremost, Eric and his crew, Lance and his crew, our PD staff, it truly is all of us together working several hours for several days in a row. We put our JMR up, our traffic unit, on the 100 block of East Main Street from July 3rd at 1:40 in the afternoon for 10 days, and there was 180,942 vehicles that went by that section of road. So that gives you kind of an idea of the influx of people that come here. So I handed out a printout to all of you. The first 4 pages is the July weekend, or the 4th of July weekend. The last 2 is specific to just the 4th of July. I can summarize it for you quickly. That's why I gave you kind of the handout. Our call volume increased by 10%, but I'll tell you the direct relation is historically, we've had the dispatch center give us 1 call for fireworks and just continue to add any fireworks to that 1 call. That did not occur this year. We got multiple fireworks calls. Our violent crime decreased by 100%. The simple assaults over the weekend, unfortunately, were involved with fireworks and juveniles and mishandling of those fireworks. Our 1 felony arrest throughout the weekend that you saw was also, unfortunately, a juvenile involved in stealing a car. For the 4th of July, the day of 4th of July itself, the vibe was just completely different. The crowd was different. Everybody was super low key. They had a good time. We had very limited calls. We had no violence. We had 0 crimes related to open container. We had 0 alcohol crimes around the 4th of July. So overall, it was extremely successful 4th of July. And that's all I have unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Stubble.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Thank you, Chief, for the in-depth report here with a bunch of data. I have 2 questions. On the 4th page, I'm looking at the comparisons of arrests and citations by year. So yeah, 4th page. The public intox numbers for 2024 are, through the roof comparatively, even for the other years. I imagine some of that is proportionate to like the number of calls. There was more calls in that year. But do you think, what else would you say is around the point that the public intoxication is so much lower? That's really the main point of the question this year than in that, 2 years ago.
As much as I'd love to say that's 100% us being proactive, I can tell you this. Quite often those come in conjunction with a call for service of fighting or someone being loud or a disturbance being caused, and that's usually one of the fixes. The other side of it is this year, just the entire crowd was different. The feeling of everybody here was different. Everybody was just low key having a good time. We didn't have any complaints or fights or, we usually have 1 or 2 during the parade of people that are bickering over seating or whatever. We didn't even have those this year. So I don't know if I have a direct answer for you.
Okay, no, that does help a lot that's correlated then with the other degree of calls you get and then public intox is added. My other question, I was going to hesitate to ask this, but I'm going to do it because I don't have direct evidence of this, but I wonder if you do. I heard allegations that one of the floats was handing out alcohol-infused Jell-O shots, perhaps indiscriminately to who they were handing them to. Is that anything you saw evidence of?
I have 0 knowledge of that at all.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for the chief?
Just a follow-up. First, thank you for the data. I do caution us when we say violent crime went down 100%. How many did we have before?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking one and then
Yeah.
none, which is good. I'm not diminishing
Yeah.
that.
When your N is small.
Yeah, when we're in a
Yeah.
small community, it's like, that's fantastic. However, as far as the Jello shots, that certainly was being done. And it's just a good opportunity of reflection about, even though there's not a call for service for Jello shots, the appropriateness of that is in question for sure. And also, do we have any data about how many people go to the hospital? I heard several helicopters that evening. Do we ever get that information or have access to number of,
No.
I mean, I know there's some,
There's a way to access it. We've never done it in the past, to be honest with you. Councilman Cassidy and myself have been working on kind of a team that meets prior to big events like this, and it would involve the hospital, ourselves, the fire department, Department of Family Services, to really kind of put some data together on, great, it was the 4th of July, went fine, but what's the aftermath? And what does it do to other entities outside of us? So it's, yeah, I mean, it's doable to get the data. I don't know, I guess you're as familiar as anybody in the room with HIPAA. I don't know if we would ever know what for, but if we could in some way speak with the hospital to try and get some translation of what their data shows directly related to a big event versus a daily data. I mean, that's a doable thing.
this is an interesting, I just had an aftermath, but I'd echo, I mean, I was here and I don't know how many of the council members were here. I know some of you left, but I certainly was here for the festivities, the entirety of it. And it was nice. There was, it was a nice 4th of July. And I lit off no fireworks.
Not even a sparkler.
Yep, me either, but I'm glad other folks had a great time with it.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Just a quick, maybe opining moment, but we have this awesome report. We have Chief Sywick here for a more, annual look at the report from the fire department, but I'm sure we'll ask some questions about the 4th too. And I'm harkening back to the conversations in June about open container and fireworks bans. And it feels to me that there's growing interest, Councilman Cassidy's brought this up with me as well, in having a sort of holistic debrief of the 4th across all these different entities. So our PD, our fire department, the hospital, the parade organizers who should be informed perhaps about if we do have direct evidence of the kind of misconduct of Jello shots happening, having a debrief and then perhaps a planning session to think more holistically about the event going into 2027 instead of having these sort of bites at the apple, later in June before the event happens. So if you could consider, Mayor, I think a sort of work session, a debrief perhaps holistically of the 4th, we're taking some chunks of it now, and then a planning session, very early in 2027 with all those entities as well. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Lance, we'll move to you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You stole my thunder on McManus, so yeah, that project did start, and we have a crew in there that is thinning and really trying to keep people out of that area who want to go in anyway and see what's going on. So they've marked it well, but still have some people that can't read signs evidently that want to sneak in and see trees falling and other things. But that fuel reduction is really going to be helpful with the dead timber and other issues within that area. So good project. I will hit the softball field. So just an update there. The lights that we have on those fields, we found dated bulbs that were no longer being made, and so Kevin reached real deep to find something to put in those lights. And what we found is that those bulbs were warping and it was causing pressure and snapping and then blowing out the glass and causing a safety issue. So once the electrician went out there, they locked it out, tagged it out, and said, don't use them anymore. It's a safety issue. And so we have two issues going on at the schools, and I think just need your guys' guidance and money to move forward on them. But number one is the drainage issue. The school ponds in an area just on the backside of one of the fields, they load their drainage off their building and off their parking lots. into an area that never drains into any sort of stream or anywhere. Over time, that constant expansion of those clays has flexed the dugouts, pushed out the poles, and caused issues with the field. We could keep trying to fight that, but the reality is drainage should go to the ditch on the other side somehow, some way. So there's a trickle channel proposal that we looked at, as well as a open channel proposal, maybe between the two fields, and be able to daylight that. You guys have to decide if you think that's something worth investing on in the city's behalf and moving the field, or if you would like to ask the school to, pay for some of the drainage improvements that don't go anywhere on their land, or how you want to proceed. But number one is getting rid of the drainage so that you can adjust the existing field and have 3 fields. The other one is lights are very expensive. We might have a lead on some used lights as people are replacing LEDs, and those would be certainly something better than nothing. But it all costs money. We're in the $150,000 to $200,000 range for new LEDs, and you have to figure out where you want to make your investments.
Yeah, and I think, Mayor, thank you, Lance. I guess for sure, I think a larger conversation about the drainage issue, which drains onto Memorial Field, which is essentially a non-usable field. But it's also very interesting because there's a lot of adult recreation use. Primarily, it's adult recreation and not youth. Youth is over. Adult goes into, who knows? I mean, they love to play softball until they can't anymore. And so I would like to maybe follow up with some type of a meeting, maybe with the school, or support you in whatever way we can. Because I know the drainage issue you're talking about and how damaging that is to the structure. But it almost seems like it's stalled out from, we had some momentum and then it's kind of stalled. And I don't want to get behind it, so that we at least have a response to
Sure.
all of that.
Happy to bring it back up with the school district. I was talking directly with their engineer that was designing the project for the bleacher drainage, and they're consolidating more drainage even in this area and pushing it back behind the building. So it's like, you guys aren't daylighting it. You're not catching anywhere where this water leaves. And here's the problem. I asked them to give us as the city a price, to be like, okay, I'm happy to draw this out. I drew contours on the deal, but I'm now into the school's world of their project. Like, can this be something, or that we're even interested in knowing what the price would be, and if that's where you guys want to put money on that property. And so they didn't have enough time or availability to take on a project like at this point. So have some very rough draft ideas. We've talked about open channel, us digging a ditch there, but again, I think that all of this is going to be an investment. Is this where you want to invest recreation dollars, and what dollars do you want to invest here?
Certainly. And my concern would be deferred maintenance of, if it becomes our only option, that it will cost, the significant cost for repair would be so astronomical at that point, because we've not maintained that. Then so when you're thinking long-term, maybe having a better understanding of our goals. I mean, I know what they are. I've read the master plan for that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think
financially.
Amongst you guys, you need to have a serious conversation about where it makes sense to invest money.
Yeah.
I think there's different opinions out there as far as where to invest dollars and how, and it'd be great to get direction on that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Thanks, Lance.
Yep. And we did move the fence at North Park back. We made that 200. And the idea behind that is if girls softball can't play on these fields, then that's going to be a dry spot. And that will meet their needs, as well as starts to meet little league needs. Like, that fence being back at an appropriate distance helps out.
Yeah, I saw that, and that works well. There's no lights on that field though, right?
No, not functional lights either. We pulled out the poles that were existing, but they were the same old lights that were there that we can't get bulbs for anymore. But we'll keep our eyes open for, there's a lot of people doing LED replacements, and I would just like to have something to turn on that works. And so, if we can run into somebody who's getting rid of those, I feel like we missed an opportunity with the new football field lights, getting the old football field lights.
Sure.
But there's still expense to setting poles and reusing things, but it's significantly less than new.
Yeah. We're getting kind of off topic, but I think Hudson has a field that has lights. Wonder if they'd be interested in getting rid of one.
Yeah, it's all about finding something that you can swap bulbs on and
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
current.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. The
Uh,
obsolescence factor.
Yeah. So let's jump to Wyoming Life Resource Center. They're doing a level 1, level 2 study on their sewer system. We've talked about that in the past. Had a significant jump around the 4th of July in their usage. They went from 100,000 gallons of water, is what we call it up there, that was coming at us through the lift station a day, to 200 and then 300,000 gallons. And we've tied that back to them irrigating above the field for the fireworks. And so
Got it.
you know that there's a huge direct connection of irrigation water going right into the sewer system, which is important to us in the future. If we ever have to chlorinate or disinfect, and we have to do it per gallon, that's a significant cost. But they're hiring their engineer, they're working through their planning to figure out how to fix that system up there, and hopefully planning in not having 3 lift stations up there when YDOT builds. And then if there's another place that builds and develops up there, hopefully there's one spot that is pumped rather than 3.
Yeah.
Lincoln Street, moving very slow. We've been LDs since May on that project, and still hopefully it's over by the end of the summer. But issues, going back and correcting work and moving forward, not at the pace the contractor would like or the city. So still getting done. They're talking about things like the closure and the connections on Main Street, but again, we were supposed to be done with this one last year. We're not. Buena Vista is starting, and so they're going to start on the lower end. They're giving us the plans and schedules for what that looks like, talking about things like scheduling pavement over with push route, and what that's going to look like and tie in, and then how much work they can get done and pay back before the end of the year. So they're going to start with their major infrastructure work and water line work, and then work on their roadway crew coming in after that. They've got a nice plan. It seems like they have their stuff together, so we'll see how that goes. I wanted to update you guys a little bit too. We've talked about engineering costs and where that comes from. When we work with SRF, when we work with big agencies, they require us to have engineer of record who signs and ensures the project, make sure it's designed correctly. Also, they make sure that we have an engineer on the project that acts as the representative project person who's the third party observing the work. What we've done is that we're putting our trained employees on the jobs too, to reduce the number of hours of engineering on site for construction. And so if you remember the 2nd Street projects, North and South, Cliff, Paposia, 6th Street projects, we did those all in-house. Those are engineered and constructed, and we work with contractors locally to do removal and replacement. We can do those when we're not in a grant program. But the benefit of doing those is the training that comes from our workers being able to be there instead of having engineers there full time. So you are seeing a reduction, but I know that it's still sticker shock when you have a $10 million job and see 20% engineering. It's a lot of money, but that's the price when we partner with other entities, and it's significantly expensive, more expensive. We've paid for those 100% out of our own pocket locally. And then airport, we have the apparent low bidder working through the contract. You guys should see that maybe end of the month or beginning of next month with Century. So going to get permission to award that, and that construction could, on the apron, could either start this fall or most likely next year. And then Jefferson's at 90% construction complete. Great to have that water line looped through there and improved ditch crossings and infrastructure that got done on that project. And so anticipating end of the month on the contractor being substantially complete. And then wanted to update you on some security improvements we're making around schools. So stop signs at 8th and Clinchard. We're going to add a 3-way stop lighted at that location.
Nice.
And put in a crosswalk for kids to get across at a stopped location there. And it's going to interrupt some people who are used to going down 8th pretty fast, but there's a lot of traffic when we look at the numbers. We've been using the chief's equipment or the new equipment we bought on traffic, but stopping people at Clinchard and 8th, that's our most traffic that comes together. So give priority there, and also give priority to the pedestrians. So we're going to light those to at least start out with, get people aware of those before school starts, that, hey, there is another stop sign and crossing here. And then we're doing ADA ramp from the corner of the school onto the sidewalk, and then get kids to cross appropriately. So we just hopefully have less scatter through that neighborhood when middle school lets out. And the other one is Smith and Academic Way. We have some speed feedback in that area, and we have very high speeds, a lot of citable offenses when she put out the radar that are coming through there during school times. And so we're going to put a three-way, get traffic slowed down within that area, and also prioritize the crosswalk at that location.
Right.
So those are two locations within the city that we're adding additional stop signs in, hopefully making crossing safer and slowing down speeds.
Right. And these will be the lighted ones like you've got on Fifth Street.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So button activated flashing light makes it more obvious for drivers.
Not the RFBs, the
Okay.
blinking, these are just blinking stops.
Okay.
Yeah, for now.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know anything about engineering, so this is just a question to you. You're the city engineer, Regine is also an engineer, I believe. Why can't you guys, do we have to have somebody else do it if we're getting a grant, or are you guys capable of doing that?
We do a lot of in-house engineering, or I do.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that you guys never see or approve. There's no contract associated with it. It results in our guys doing the work, like these block-to-block replacements. So as long as somebody doesn't require a third party, but unfortunately, a lot of these people do. Like I rewrote the traffic safety plan for that crossing into the museum that I think could be beneficial of connecting the elementary or the middle school to the high school. So we're looking by the radio station, putting in a crossing at that location that I think is safe, wrote the modification, and they're like, can't accept it. You need to have another third party do it, when I send it to YDOT. And that's a lot of these, is that they require another engineer to be the party that signs these. Anything that I can do, I love doing it, be happy to draw water lines and sewer lines wherever they let me. But the majority of these third-party agreements that we get into require another party to be part of them and design them. And so,
Perfect.
yeah,
Thank you.
but the small stuff, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Good question. Thank you. Councilmember Stubble.
Mayor, thank you. Director Hopkins, can I put a finer point on that? You said the majority of these third-party entities require third-party engineering, but could we also say all state and all federal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All state and all federal.
Anything
That's a
where there's
much
state or
better
federal.
way to.
I don't mean
Yeah.
to.
No,
I
that
just
was,
want to get
that's correct. Yeah.
Great. Really good news about the stop signs too. Thank you for both of you for the interdepartmental work about Chief Wah, about making sure those areas are much safer and slower. So
Well,
thank you.
And it's really great to get some of this software that he's shown me recently, is like, show me the hot spots, show me where we're having accidents, show me where we've had them in the last 5 years. And so we're getting a lot of this data that can be consolidated in one spot and focus on if we're having repeated issues. Also the speed feedback over durations, and, people complain like they're going so fast, and we're like, actually, this is the data, and they're not really going over the speed limit. One thing I want to talk to you guys about roads, I think the majority of people will stay at 25 miles an hour or less. When we make a new road like Lincoln, I look at it and I'm like, we built something that looks like a 65 mile an hour road. And so hopefully we don't get people going 65 miles an hour. There's some science to this and some engineering on we don't want to go from having to stop people repeatedly because they're going too fast and change our traffic patterns. You see a lot of engineering now where they constrict roads or change the way that they appear or look, and that's all in the effort of having people pay more attention or slow down. So, it's still good to design 25 mile an hour roads. I heard a lot of the feedback that we need to focus more on roads. We can take out and smooth out a lot of our crossings. I think that's where a lot of our imperfections are, if that's where you guys want to go in utility repair work. So if you drive down our roads, a lot of what you feel is something that's been repaired by, a landowner, a contractor trying to get back to original condition. We could mill and overlay those and smooth them out. We just need to talk about if that's where we want to spend our money, is on some smoothness. And, we also want to consider speed if we're going to, track things like that and put budget towards it.
Yeah.
I know that's a lot, but just trying to give you guys more of an update. I know you guys asked for it since we're not doing the same thing.
No, I appreciate all that update. And again, I go back to, one of the things we talk about in terms of kid safety and being a kid-friendly community, like I think we all want kids to be safe, walking to school, riding their bike to school, to ball practice, whatever. And we might be working against that with making some of our streets better, like you said. They're now easier to travel, hopefully not at 65, but folks can go 30, 35. And we know that there's a significant difference in the degree of injury at a pedestrian impact at 30 miles an hour versus 25. And so something we all need to be mindful of how this progresses.
Yeah, and we'll use our data trackers to see, potentially
Yeah.
people just behave great and they stay at 25 or slower. So,
Yeah. Might need more stop signs.
all right, thank you.
Yeah.
And
And
happy
any
to-
questions for Lance? Okay. Hunter, are you going to join in now or wait until later?
Yeah, I'll probably wait till later. I'll do
Okay.
that. I can answer any questions. I hopefully just do a presentation here in a bit. It probably won't be much Q&A. So happy to answer any questions pertaining to building permits and address them during my presentation or
Yeah, let's
do it
wait for
at
that.
another time.
Yep. Christy,
Hello.
you're going to need to be closer to the microphone.
I have to be
Right.
closer to, I know, I'm soft-spoken. And my family would probably say that that's not actually true, though. One of the things I wanted to mention was I don't know if a lot of you have seen the updates from Tara Berg on property tax. So I think they finally got an answer on July 7th. They had a meeting on July 6th. And there's an organization with the state out there that wanted to say that the 4% cap was not legal or it wasn't going to be equatable to all people, which she said basically affects about 7,500 people in Fremont County. She kind of gave us like, well, if they do away with that, everybody just pays more property tax. But I think the governor got that to be set aside as it moves through the courts to try to decide what the actual ruling's going to be. They gave us like the worst case scenario for having the 4% cap and where we're at right now. I think it took our valuation down by $1 million, and it means that we would bring in like $13,400 less. So if everybody remembers right, for Fremont County, we get 8% on our property tax on the 8 mil, I guess it is. 5 mils goes into the general fund, and then 3 mils also goes into the general fund, but it's allocated directly to the fire department. So I guess we're pretty lucky it only went down $13,400, but we could probably anticipate we might get a little less from the county than what we first thought we were going to get from Tara back based on her April valuation. So I think the next thing is, I know that we put in for this and I know for a record request, I got updated amortization schedules on our state land and investment loans that already reflected the interest rate decrease, I believe. But we finally last week got the final executed, signed by the governor. It's been out there for about 4 months now, since March, I think it was, on all of our SLIB loans that we have out there, that we got the interest rate reduced from 2.5% to 1.5%. So we actually have the final documents on that. Some of the other things that we're working on is I've been working on what preliminary information we need to give to our auditor so he can set stuff up for the audit. We're kind of looking right now to maybe scheduling that for September or October. So that should be coming forward. Also, we've started in July implementing some of those internal control measures where we're having where we require everything to have more than one signature. We changed our wiring fund instructions in the past. Not our investments didn't require authorizations, but we do that now. We also tried to change that in Airtable. If it was a department head, it would come over to Kevin Kulo and myself to actually approve it. But now within the department is having dual. There's some kinks in that we need to figure out, but we are trying to make it to where everything is looked at, mainly because we want to make sure that everything's accurate. There's no duplication, that everything makes sense. And also look for things where we can be more efficient with our money. And, does this make sense if we're spending it? Along with that, I think one of the things the mayor and I have talked about is that's on my list to do, hopefully before the end of the year, is try to write up some like a financial policies, which would include like how we handle different things. I know there's a lot of times there's talks about, well, how is this handled at the city? And since I'm new, I don't know, but as I'm learning it, I'm trying to document that. And I think that just helps with having clearer instructions. And then when we can present that to you all, that you guys would actually see, oh, okay, you would have a better understanding of what procedures we do and what all things we go through for that. So it's just the clearer their information, what we do, how it's done. But in doing so, it also will allow us to maybe hopefully come up with ways where we can be more efficient. And that would save us from ever needing additional staff, or if we have extra time, could we help other people? Right now, it feels like we're just overburdened with work, but this would let's look where there's some things that might not make sense as we document this out, that we can make it easier, more efficient. Also, if it's written down, then there's a clear way that we all do it. So there could be a lot more cross-training and things of that sort as well. So those are the things that are kind of on my plate. Are there any questions? They're not fun things. Oh, I did want to mention, when you guys get to the bills and claims, one of those glitches that we have been working on, well, one of the things we have to do for audit is anything that has a July date. So we're issuing a check in July, we're issuing it tomorrow, and it has a June, even if it has a July invoice, but the work was clearly done in June, we have to capture that and put it in a different period for our auditors, and for recording it into, you can call it accounting 101, making sure your revenues and your expenses are in the same period. So it's true. So we truly have to capture those expenses and put them against last fiscal year's budget. So a lot of the things that we spent time on this last week, Kevin and I, is going through every single invoice, making sure. But in doing that, I think when he went to go put them in the different periods, we just had a system glitch. That's where you see the in and out. The dollar amount is fine, but there was just some system glitches in getting those into the right periods. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yep. Thanks for clarifying that, because
Okay.
it is
I know, it made it really long.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, thank you for all your detail about capturing the policies and procedures we have in place and getting them written down, which then also makes it, as you said, easier to refine. And things like, even though some of our investment groups don't require 2 signatures, that's become our policy, is internally, we're going to require 2 signatures for those things, which just makes sense. So, any questions for Christy? Okay, Adam, your chance to say you have nothing.
I'm going to change it up a little tonight.
Oh, wow.
I have a few other things to discuss later on in the agenda, but I have nothing for my update.
Okay.
Unless somebody else has questions for me.
Questions? Okay. And Rochelle.
I just wanted to let the council know that currently we use a Civic Plus program for our minutes, agendas, and the recordings of the meeting. They are phasing that program out. I will probably be coming forward asking the council to move to the new platform that they will be offering. In the meantime, I've noticed a lot of glitches in the current system. So I'll make changes in the agenda. It doesn't save them. I'll add something to the agenda and then realize that it's not there. So like a couple weeks ago, you probably saw me send out 3 agendas on a Friday because I realized, well, where did it go? It was there. Then it came to my attention, thank you, Marit, that if you clicked on the May 23rd meeting, it took you to the June 9th meeting. I have no idea how that's possible because it pulls YouTube was right, but it pulls from the same place. So if you see something that's weird, please let me know so that I can go in and fix it until we move to the new system.
Great. Thank you. Any questions for Rochelle? Okay, let's go to the consent agenda then. On that, we have approved June 9, 2026 regular city council minutes, approved June 16, 2026 special city council minutes, approved June 23rd, 2026 regular city council minutes, approved June 23rd, 2026 work session city council minutes, and then E, approved bills and claims. Could I get a motion and a second, please?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilmember Larson, seconded by Councilmember Cox. There is one thing we didn't note on the bills and claims, which is, and even let us know that when the chamber awarded TAD grants back in January, February, the Lobos were actually granted 2K. And the initial, what you see on bills and claim is 1K. She did verify that they are supposed to get a total of 2,000. She did double check all of the other ones and they are correct, but that would need to be an amendment that we add in the additional 1,000 for Lobos for a total of 2,000. It has not already been paid. It's on this bills and claims to be paid.
Yeah, if we haven't approved it, we haven't paid it. So it's page 12 there that you're looking at, I think, for everybody's flipping through.
And for some clarification, the agenda packet bills and claims does not have that additional 1,000 because we were not aware of that when the packet went out. So I put a new bills and claims in front of each of you, and on page 12, the additional 1,000 is highlighted, the change.
So Mayor, then I move we amend the bills and claims to include an additional $1,000 to the Lobos Baseball Club Association. And perhaps when we have it, the way we describe it here, we can just make some indication on why that's a double. So for our records or looking backwards at it. Right now it just says Lobos. Let's do correcting error or something.
Okay. Do you want to add
Sorry.
that in your amendment?
I do
So
not want to add
that'll
that
be
in the
included in
amendment. Sorry, that was garbled. I move we add the $1,000 additional payment to Lobos
to complete the TAD grant.
to complete the
reimbursement.
$2,000 reimbursement.
Great.
that they're
Thank you. So moved by Councilmember Stubble. Can we get a second? Is that moving or a question?
No, I had a question. It has nothing.
How about let's get a second first and we'll vote on the amendment and then your question. Okay? Okay, so moved by Councilmember Stubble, seconded by Councilmember Hahn. Can we vote on the amendment and then we'll go to your question and then the whole. So Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
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 Great, the amendment passes. Councilmember Hahn, your question.
Just a little question. The Columbarium USA, is that one of those holders up at the,
At
the,
At the
I
cemetery.
the
thought it
cemetery.
was, but I
Yeah.
just was wondering.
Fields had this in his, it's actually screwed up our budget for 3 years because he's been planning on purchasing and installing the new columbarium because we're about out of room at the cemetery. And so this year he's pulling the trigger and gonna get it installed. So you won't see that money coming in for that project. We've been bringing it in and then not spending it, bringing it in, not spending it. So this year we're actually spending it and getting it installed, which is a
So
good thing.
the little one that's up there, is that the same size? Is that what those cost?
No, this is the big vault.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. I was wondering.
Yeah.
All right, that was my
Yeah.
question. Thank you.
Glad you asked. Any other questions?
Mayor, if I could just make the comment on that Lobos, when we have the final document, can we just say that's a correction? Again, for record keeping, when we look back and think, why are there two?
Sure.
Not a motion, just a request. I saw
Okay.
that.
All right, we'll call for the question starting with you, Councilmember Hahn.
Yes.
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 Great, that passes. Next up is our new business non-action items. First up are the good folks from Juvenile Justice. Come on up. If you'd like, come on up to here so everyone can be at a microphone. And then if you just press the little speaker with the person so we can hear you, and please introduce yourselves and where's like you're here.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Sage Goff. I'm the Director of Youth Services, also known as Juvenile Justice of Fremont County, as well as Treatment Courts of Fremont County. A little bit about juvenile justice is we offer the diversion or probation for Fremont County. While juveniles are supervised in our agency, we offer structured, individualized support that really promotes that accountability, some skill development, and hoping to reduce continued involvement with the justice system. We also really try to focus on having positive community involvement. Some of that looks like community service, giving back to your community, just finding something that juveniles can be passionate about or enjoy that does not require breaking the law. Currently, Youth Services is working with the National Youth Screening and Assessment Partners. This implementation and working with them is going to give us a standardized screening and assessment so that we can identify the risk and needs for the juveniles in our program and tailor a more individualized case plan or a plan in helping them address maybe thought processes, figuring out referrals for the juveniles and the families, but also really just giving them that support in this time, and hopefully to continue to promote outcomes that can help reduce future justice involvement. So some of the services that Youth Services offers is moral recognition therapy. All of our programming is evidence-based, and I should have said that from the beginning. MRT is a structured intervention program that focuses on criminal thinking, decision-making, and thought patterns that often juveniles don't always recognize. And so it's really honing in on that thought process and trying to connect the dots for the juveniles and how one decision can have a domino effect to other poor decisions or getting in trouble with the law. We also offer urinalysis testing for individuals who have had citations for substance use, whether it be alcohol or drugs. If an individual is cited for theft or assault, we're not going to test them. But if the citation is directly involved in substance use, we do have that ability to utilize that testing. Again, individual probation and diversion supervision is we really try to be person-centered. And so it's looking at that juvenile sitting in front of you and trying to navigate how can this be impactful to them? How can we help navigate that change? And really trying to meet the juvenile where they're at. Some of the services that are offered is, the juvenile probation officers will go to schools and meet with them. They'll go to their homes and meet with them, offer rides, take them to appointments. I know in the last school year, they were taking juveniles to extracurricular activities because the family couldn't get them to practices or get them home after practices. And so, allowing the students or juveniles to still have that involvement within their community, within their school, and not having barriers be put in front of them. And so that goes along kind of with our family support. We really try to help the families where we can, when we can, because so many of our families don't have the means to do that for their children. We also just implemented some substance use and behavioral education through the Change Company. Again, that is an evidence-based program or curriculum that we are implementing that's going to help support in those assessments that we're going to start doing. I believe we train for those in August, and we'll go through a series of trainings and navigating what that looks like, helping develop case plans. And so that curriculum will be established even more. I know that we've started to use them here in the last month or two, but really being able to define like what is it that the juvenile is lacking or needs help support in developing. And then again, our community service, getting the juveniles into the community in a positive manner and finding the appropriate placements. I know we've had some juveniles volunteer at the nursing homes, the food bank, the animal shelter. And so really getting them and finding them what they enjoy so it doesn't just feel like a punishment to do community service. Some of the budget for youth services is we get financial support from the city of Riverton, you guys. We also have a grant through the Community Juvenile Justice Board, and then Fremont County helps as well. But with the funding that we request, it really directly supports youth services by the materials for drug testing. We do also have some individuals that have had to have ankle monitors, and so allowing to not have that be an added expense to the family that's already facing a lot of barriers. The educational programming and our intervention courses to include the substance use education, and then the behavioral and decision-making programs, which are all within that Change Company and MRT material that we offer. And so with the support of Lander and the financial support, it just allows us to continue to offer that structured community supervision. A lot of it too is building those relationships with the juveniles who maybe don't have a positive role model in their life or feel like this is what their life is going to be forever. And so having our probation officers build those connections with the juveniles has been really huge, and just letting them know that they matter and they can do better and helping guide them on that path. Hattie does have some statistical information for you, so I will let her take that over.
Great. Good evening, everybody. I'm Hattie Calvert. I'm the Assistant Director of Juvenile Justice Services of Fremont County, more formally known as Youth Services. That better?
Yes.
Perfect. So in Lander, as the first of the year, we've had 36 citations come out of into our Lander office of crimes that have been committed in Lander. As always, alcohol is our biggest citation producer that stays in the county, in both the municipalities as well, the two major municipalities. Drugs, actually, we saw a decrease in our drug activity. Don't really have a great idea as to why. We just have not had the citations that we usually do for marijuana. Property has taken an increase. Most of those are thefts. To be very honest, we've had increase in more age-appropriate crime in Lander. These are like thefts of like squishies and Neatos. I don't know if you guys know much about the squishy epidemic. It's crazy. These kids they're more addicted to the squishies than they are the drugs and alcohol. So that has been an increase. We've seen actually a lot of that, which is like really petty theft. And the other ones that we've seen an increase in our person, Sierra can kind of speak to this a little bit. We've had an Orby gun situation that has hit Lander pretty hard, and those have those have produced some tight citations as well. Fights, unlawful contacts also fall into that, which are usually kind of what you expect to see in diversion. Mutual fights, small theft, and then like I said, the Orby guns have also created some citations. One thing also we did want to touch on, which I think is really kind of an important piece, is we pulled our blood alcohol concentration data for 24 and 25. This is through the county. These are not Lander citations only. This is a combination in the county, but it does paint a picture of where we have some really big issues, and that is in alcohol. Our average blood alcohol content in 2024, we had 74 citations that had blood alcohol concentrations on them. Not every citation that we get does. And our average was a 0.123, which is concerning at a minimum. The range in that, obviously, you see the high end of that is a 260. And then in 25, we did have an increase in blood alcohol concentration up to a 0.148, with our high being a 0.329. These numbers should alarm everybody. This is extreme drinking. We're hearing and finding kids, unable to stand with throw up on them. And, that kind of drinking is really in excess. So that's, our major concern is, the blood alcohol contents in which we do see on our drinking citations.
Yeah. Do you have any guesses as to why the average has gone up and the range has gone up so much?
I would say that 24 probably was kind of an outlier. We had some really small like pre-homecoming drinking that occurred.
Okay.
And that really kind of lowered that, because like we're talking like a shot or two before they got in trouble. I think that the increase is a better point of where we're at as a county with our teenage drinking.
So if you went back to like 2022, 2023, is it that 24 is an anomaly and now we're seeing it back to normal? Or
I would say that there was several of those, like 0.1 or 0.01 to 0.014s, and that really drove our average down in 24. I would say that if I pulled it from 23 and 22, we would see similar. I know in those years we saw threes a couple of different times. And we also have seen in those last couple of years, we've seen an increase in our DUIs, our juvenile DUIs. When I first started at youth services, it was like the craziest thing ever to see a juvenile DUI. We saw maybe like one or two in my first like 5 years. And since in the last 5 years, we've seen, 10 a year-ish, so it kind of ebbs and flows. We just, like Chief Waugh said, we did have a DUI over here over the 4th of July weekend. It's happening. That also is a major concern of ours.
And I remember last year y'all presented that generally the source of alcohol are family members. So an adult family member purchasing it and then providing it. Is that continuing to be the trend?
Yes, we do not hear a lot of, well, we can go into so-and-so and it's no ID, no check. Like, we do not hear that.
Yeah.
It is.
It's not license holders. It's
No,
other
it's not your
individuals
license
who are-
holders. It is parents.
Okay.
Parents who, will allow their child to drink and allow other children to drink. Not always. That's a problem. It's a problem for your own child. It is a problem for other people's children. It's a problem in our county. It's a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Councilmember Larson.
Thanks, Mayor. You asked the question that I had, is that where's that alcohol coming from? And it's nice to know that it's not coming from our licensed dealers. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Other questions? Councilmember Stubble.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for being here, Director Goff, and Hattie, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but
no worries. I'm Sierra Hernandez.
Sierra, awesome. Thank you for being here. You do incredibly important work. I'm in full support. I'm glad we pay our contribution over. So thank you for always coming to present. It would be helpful to me if next time you come, if you could do the more year-over-year data, like a 5-year snapshot perhaps, or 3 at least, because I pulled up some previous year's presentations trying to get a sense of like where these trends are. Because the 6-month snapshot you've given to us is important for like, what does this look like this year? But, you know, the drugs could go up, right? Like that 8% might not be as reflective of the trend, or tell me if I'm wrong that you're seeing that is a trend of decreased in drugs.
It will increase when we get back in school.
Yeah.
Most of our drug citations do come out of the school.
Okay.
You know, kids using it at school is usually where those come from. But that has been in decrease over the last school year. Obviously, we did see less than that.
Yeah, thanks. I certainly don't want to overburden you on reporting when you're doing such incredible work, but if you can throw some like 3 to 5 year trend kind of graphs together next time, that would be really informative, for me at least. And then, yeah, incredibly concerning around that blood alcohol content and the fact that the parents are the sources here, because I want something that we can do. I want to know, like, what can we do better as a community? We're talking about this constantly. We're taking it seriously in our distribution. And I think about, gosh, how do we reach parents? Like, what can we do better as a city council and as a city?
I think that education is really important.
Okay.
Understanding that providing your 16-year-old alcohol is dangerous. It's dangerous to them. It's dangerous to your communities, and to host parties is extremely dangerous. I mean, juveniles drinking causes a lot of other issues. I would say most of the time our violent crime, alcohol is on board. I would say 100% of the time. Anytime you have these big break-ins or any violence, anything, alcohol is on board. And most of the time that alcohol is coming directly from the person who is then having to call the cops, and, you know, kind of that situation. It's I think education of your parents of like, these are developing brains. Like, this is what you're predisposing your child to having an alcohol problem. If you were steadily feeding them alcohol at 16, if it's detrimental to your community to be the fun, safe house. Well, I know they're doing it in my house. It's harmful.
Yeah. Okay. So more education from us, more promotion of community information is what you'd ask for. Okay.
If I may add, Sierra Hernandez, I'm the Lander Probation Officer for juveniles. Kids talk a lot. So I do know of like 2 very big 4th of July parties that did not have any police involvement. I do not know where they were at, but I do know that they are at a person's house. One in particular supplied by older siblings. So I would just be mindful, and I think I spoke about this last year, that it's very much a trickle effect in homes. So education is very important. If the parents start supplying, then you have your 21-year-old, 22-year-old big sister supplying, and then we have full parties that are involving like hospital visits, not police involved, but like major hospital visits just this 4th of July. And so things like that, it comes from kids that have had a substance use issue that are now of age, supplying their friends, supplying their little siblings, and things like that. Not to switch gears entirely, but I do want to talk about the Orby guns. It's actually, I joke, but it's serious. It's unreal how much I talk about Orby guns recently. And we have a lot of kids in Lander getting in trouble with the Orby guns, but also just using the Orby guns in general. It has started out as like a pretty playful, like Orby wars is what they call them. But it is getting to the point where we're having drive-by shootings at houses, shooting random people in parking lots with Orby guns. And we do have several Orby guns that are being painted black.
Yep. Sorry. John, can you use your mic?
Yes, can you please explain to somebody that's dumb as a day old duck what an Orby gun is?
Absolutely. So Orbeez are a little ball that are, they're like jelly and water. So they are shot out of most often what looks like a water gun. But they're really powerful. They leave welts, they hurt. So similar to like I would more so say it's similar to like a paintball war than like a water gun war. Um, airsoft, yeah. So they're just little balls and they are fun. So I do understand like where the fun comes out of it, but now we're having kids shooting at people that are unwilling participants in the game. They do leave welts. They will, if they hit your eye, damage your eye. Like they are that powerful. And they're causing issues. We are a Wyoming community where people have real weapons. And if we can't tell that it's a simulated weapon, now we have quite a tragic event over Orbeez. So I just want to everyone to be really mindful of that. I'm doing the best I can for those that end up with youth services that have citations that are involving Orby guns to, educate them on like, I understand that it started out being fun, but when we get a real gun drawn on you because you're pointing a painted black Orby gun at someone and hitting them, then it gets very serious very fast.
And they're not single shot, they're like semi-automatic, like.
Oh, they're crazy.
Yeah, they're,
wow.
I don't think we have one in the car. We have a couple of them. We've
I
confiscated.
confiscate them when I can, and Hattie and I have tried them out. They're fun. Like I will give them. They are fun, but they are powerful. And if you don't know what's hitting you, it is alarming. There was an incident semi recently in Riverton at the Walmart with an off-duty officer and his wife, where luckily he was trained but had a gun on him, started to unholster it, then realized it's an Orby gun. So that's how quick it can kind of spiral. And the families and the kids find it really bizarre that they're in trouble for it. So just trying to spread the word of how serious it can get, and what safe play looks like.
Okay.
If you will.
Wow, thanks for that effort. Yeah. That's a hard one. Other questions?
I
Councilmember
just
Cox.
have a comment about the MOU that was in our packet. The dates are wrong. I just was reviewing it. I didn't review it previously. The dates are from 2024 to 2025. So they would just need to be updated.
And that can be discussed during that
Okay,
agenda item.
okay.
Great. Other questions for these folks?
I do think we should a point that you made is we have an opportunity from this position to have a little bit more, I don't know, pressure, if you will. It seems like we need to maybe be a little intentional about what we're going to do with these increased DUIs. Over the course of years, the trends change depending on who the prosecuting attorney is, specifically as it relates to juvenile crime, but maybe doing more collaborative effort in supporting your organization as well as other agencies to really be looking at how we deal with chronic substance use disorder, specifically as it relates to juvenile justice. I went to the forum last night with the sheriffs, and there's not a lot of connection to service providers. And now would be a good opportunity because we're going to have a new sheriff. But also, there's a lot of resources available in our community, and there's some disconnect and some siloed approaches to dealing with that. So it might be a good opportunity for us as a council, because I do think we support you financially more than the other city council in Riverton, but doing a task force or even just some community engagement strategies and opportunities. And put some leverage on the Fremont County Prosecuting Office too to, address these in a very serious nature versus waiting for tragedy. So, thank you.
And one other thing I will add is we are always looking for community service partnerships. So if the city has, things that youth services can help out with in terms of, maybe cleaning up after events, we would prefer those events to be non-alcohol, as we do have a problem with our alcohol. But, if we can help clean up after events, if there's, graffiti in the parks, anything of that nature, we are more than happy to help clean up. And, definitely are always looking for helpful community service partnerships.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Larson.
we've got a thought I had that on. Okay. We've got a Lander Community Pig Roast coming up on the 25th. We need help on the 24th, preparing the roast. We need help on the 25th, pulling the pork off of the roast, and we need help cleaning up. So we'd be glad to have some individuals come and show up.
Yeah, who would we be able to contact?
You
And
can
that
contact me.
information? Okay, perfect.
Okay,
I can definitely round that up.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
John,
we do not have.
is that going to be an alcohol-free event this year, though?
As far as I know.
Okay, awesome. Great. I know it hasn't been in the past, so just wanted to double check. Great. Okay. Thank you for being here. Much appreciated, and especially appreciate the work you're doing. That is really key. I'm sorry it's needed, and I'm also glad you're there to provide those services. Yeah, thank you. Okay, next up, we've got our fire department folks. Thanks for being here. And again, as you're getting settled in, please convey to the whole team, we appreciate all the effort that went into the 4th of July, your pre-planning, the many conversations you and I had about whether or not fireworks are appropriate, but especially all the effort that folks put out on the 4th to keep things from getting out of control.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth here, but yeah, appreciate it and we'll pass that on. So yeah, Mayor, Council, thank you for having me here tonight. It's been quite some time, probably close to a year and a half, I think, judging by my notes. So I do have a lot of stuff to go over with you as far as statistics from 2025 and so far this year, as well as some of the projects. I'll try not to take up too much of your time though. In 2025, we responded to 230 calls for service, which was up from 137 in 2024. The breakdown of these calls are 33 fires. These are including your building fires, mobile homes, vehicles, grass fires, brush fires, and anything else that happens to catch on fire. 23 rescue and emergency service incidents. These are EMS assists and motor vehicle accidents. 48 hazardous condition calls. These include gas leaks, fuel spills, carbon monoxide, down power lines, and any fault with electrical equipment. 65 service calls. These include any inspections, fire drills, and assisting other agencies such as LPD and outside agencies that may need our help with anything. 30 good intent calls. These are dispatched and canceled in or out type calls where no incident was found, smoke scares or odor of smoke. And then 31 false alarm calls, which are often faulty smoke detectors or alarm system malfunctions. Of the 230 calls, 35 of these were mutual aid with Fremont County Fire Protection District, meaning we went out to help them with calls. And 13 of those calls are where Fremont County came in to help us on calls. Along with these calls, in 2025, the members of the department participated in 24 in-house training opportunities that equated to approximately 1,000 hours of combined training, which equates to roughly 24 hours per member. These hours do not include any outside training that the members take or any of the new members going through their initial training. So our new members, they go through roughly about 200 hours of training in that first year just to get their initial certifications. And then there's several fire schools throughout the year that members are going to get better training.
And a quick reminder, I know you've got some new recruits, which is awesome. Can you remind us how many new folks you've got joining?
Yeah, so somewhere in here. Yeah, recruitment as always continues to be a big part of our efforts, right? I think in 2024, we reported we had 30 members. We have 32 firefighters right now. We have 4 members working through their probationary status, getting their initial training. And then we have 2 applicants waiting to get on, going through the process to get on. So every about 5 members we get, we start losing some to retirement. So roughly 3/4 of our department can retire at any time. So the goal is to get some of these young folks in, get them trained up. So as those senior folks retire, you know, we have some knowledge and experience out there. As far as 2026 goes, as far as calls right now, January through June, we have responded to 125 calls. 95 of these are paged alarms for the entire department. These include 6 structure fires, 4 appliance fires, 12 grass fires, 22 hazardous conditions calls, 16 vehicle accidents, 27 fire alarms are canceled in or out, and then 30 service calls. Of these ones, we have mutual aided with Fremont County Fire Protection District 46 times, and that's a combination of them helping us and us helping them. As most are aware, at the beginning of this year, we had several large structure fires within the community. We don't often see those that frequently, so to get the number that we had was abnormal. Of course, all of these fires happened on very, very windy days, which made it difficult for the firefight. However, the crews, both Lander City guys and Fremont County, they stepped up and did a fantastic job on all of those fires. As far as 4th of July goes, of course, we allowed fireworks. You know, it's a proud tradition in Lander. I certainly don't necessarily want to put my name on having to ban the fireworks because of that tradition. As the mayor referenced, we started monitoring conditions back in March, working with the city as far as monitoring the water supply, looking at fire behavior, fuel moisture content, all those things that go into making that decision. We did feel comfortable as far as allowing fireworks or making that recommendation to allow fireworks. Happy to report this year we only had 4 calls, 4 firework related calls. 3 of those are grass fires. 1 of those was put out before we got there. And then the last one was just after midnight, dumpster fire, which was from discarded fireworks stuff. So a huge thanks though needs to go out to not only the Lander Police Department and the city crew and whatnot, the Lander Police Department with Sean going out there making sure empty lots are mowed. That really helped us out a lot. But their presence on the 4th and talking to the community members and making sure they're operating safely, right? In addition to that, we did have crews. We had 20 firefighters ready to go that day. We had 2 trucks out roaming around, a command rig roaming around. I think that presence definitely helped. But a huge shout out to the community. The community, I saw a lot of sprinklers running on their lawns throughout the day. I saw a lot of garden hoses and buckets of water out and ready to go, just in case something did happen. And it's because of those actions that makes it easier to allow those fireworks is the community's actions. So they did a great job. In my 2024 report, I announced that we started pursuing a training prop that will assist us with our essential training needs, anything from search and rescue, forcible entry, ventilation, all those basic firefighter skills that we go through. Through fundraising efforts starting in 2024, primarily through the Lander Tree event, Lander Extravaganza, and the Lower Foundation, we raised $130,000, and then we had additional donations from private donors. That prop has since been purchased, built, and is waiting to be delivered. As of June 29th, we're waiting on that delivery. So we've been working with Lance as far as placement of it at the drill field. Have hopefully one meeting to go through to get that final go, and that'll be coming this way. And the members are very eager to get it here and start training on it. Through that project, there's definitely some dirt work and other stuff that needs to be done for that placement at the drill field. As of right now, it's looking like we should be able to get all that donated. So there should be zero cost to the city of Lander on that. Other projects in the works, we have applied for and been denied 2 federal grants to replace Engine 6. Engine 6 is currently our oldest engine in the fleet. It's 37 years old right now. It is starting to fall apart. Right now, we can't draft out of it. The primer won't work, so we can't draft out of, say, a river or like a swimming pool type scenario. We can flow water through it via a hydrant, but if we don't have a hydrant, then we won't be able to get water out of it. The master stream on it, the deck gun on top that flows a lot of water on our big fires, that is currently out of service. Working with the shop, we're starting to get down to the point on that where they're having to weld things together or I'm gonna call it a Band-Aid fix to try and get things working on it to keep that truck going. Currently, that truck is my highest priority to get replaced with it being so old. Since 2020, there's been a 90% increase in the cost. So a new engine now is, we're looking at $1 million for a new engine replacement. If we were to order an engine today, it's going to take 3 to 4 years to build and get here. So I think that helps highlight why that's my priority, is because it's starting to fall apart. Once we order it, we're still waiting. We're looking at a 45 to 50-year truck, depending on when funding becomes available on that. In addition to that, our next inline trucks, we have a 30-year-old truck, a 20-year-old truck, and a 10-year-old truck. So, you know, as engine 6 keeps getting older, so do these other trucks. So I would kindly ask council to maybe help us and look at other avenues to help replace specifically engine 6 right now, and you know, work on a replacement plan as we start looking at these other engines. Our air packs, our SCBAs, they're currently getting to the age of their mandatory retirement, 15 years. We did put in for a federal grant to hopefully get funding on that. I'm confident if it's not this round, the next round of that grant, we'll get the funding. That's through the AFG, Assistant to Firefighter Grants. They're really proactive on safety equipment and SCBAs and stuff like that. So I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to get that funding here within the next 2 years to replace our air packs. Just to give you guys an idea, a single air pack, and that includes our mask, the pack frame, and the bottle, they cost about roughly $7,000 a piece right now. And as far as the LVFD needs go, we need a minimum of 25 pack frames and then 50 spare bottles to go with it to meet the standards. Over the past couple of years, we've applied for a lot of smaller grants. SHSP, they have helped us completely get all new radios, handheld mobile radios in our truck, upgrading those that were a good 20 years old, starting to fail. Battery lives weren't maintaining, so our radios are all updated. Some smaller grants that have helped with small tools to keep the trucks outfitted and things of those nature. Currently, we have a grant out there through State Farm that we applied for in hopes of replacing some fire hose. We have fire hose in service dating back to the early 1980s. Fire hose is starting to fail. We do not have any spares on the rack to speak of. Some of these fires early in the year, we did burn through about 5 sections of hose, which shorted us a little bit more. So right now, replacing that is kind of crucial for us. Lastly, in 2026, proud to announce the Lander Volunteer Fire Department, we're celebrating 125 years of service to the community of Lander. So fire department was established in 1901. That's a lot of years of service. We're excited about it. We kind of announced it during the 4th of July parade with a banner anyways. Then planning is taking place to kind of celebrate with the community at our annual open house in October during Fire Prevention Week. Of course, we're continuing to progress forward as we need to with not only equipment, but developing those strategic plans and things of that nature to help you guys make decisions and whatnot. But I guess to end my portion, I'd really like to say thanks to, of course, all the members. It's amazing how much time these folks put in volunteering, not only responding to calls, the trainings, all the PR events, and anything else they're asked to do. They always step up, and I often find a lack of words of how to describe it, but they put in a lot of time. Not only do they put in time, but I gotta say thank you to their significant others, because they give up just as much to support them. And another group of people that often aren't thought about with the volunteer fire world anyways, emergency response, are the employers. The employers are letting these folks go and respond to calls. You know, I know, at least with the mayor, we talked about it, that DuPont Street fire. As soon as that fire got done, we started dealing with down power lines. We had another chimney fire, a couple of car accidents. We had guys out for 22 hours, or close to 22 hours that day. So these guys are giving up a lot of time, but the employers and their families are also letting them. So it takes a lot of people. But with that, I stand for any questions.
Thank you. Questions for Chief Sywick? I mean, one for me on a very minor one, again, immense gratitude for all that y'all do all the time. And I know having to be ready at literally the drop of the hat for that. Great statistics you provided. Can you also make sure you send us those documents so we can have them as well? That'd be really nice. So, and yeah, I'm really glad you're thinking about replacement plan, especially given that length of purchase to delivery time. Yeah, we thought the vac truck was slow. Holy cow, that was a blink of an eye, 18 months. You're talking about 4 years. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, I think it was about 2 years ago, they were about 2 years out. Now we're looking at 3 to 4 years out.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, questions? Councilmember Stubble.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief Sywick. I really appreciate the that you're coming in and for the report. Thank you. Yeah, look forward to the written one too. I tried to capture some notes with numbers, but I didn't get them all. And thank you beyond the report. Obviously, what you do for the community is just incredible. So I did want to ask if you could detail more about the volunteer response. And I was looking back at notes from your last presentation. So we have our roster number. I think, we still would like to have 45. Is that our goal number?
Correct,
for this
yeah.
community size?
Yeah.
And then, and where are we right now?
We're at 32.
32. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So we've gone up from 30 was the last time I think we chatted. And then what about response to incidents? What's the average response of number of volunteers?
So, and I'm sorry, I don't have that data. Our record management system that we use to report to the state and the national level had changed since the last report. It no longer tracks that. However, I don't think we've gotten any slower. So I think the last report was roughly that 7 minutes. I'd say we're pretty close to that same response time.
Okay, great. And what about number of volunteers? I wrote down
Our average number of volunteers, it's definitely increased. I'd say our average volunteers per call is about 10 now.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to? I mean, it's awesome, but like,
Honestly, the more new folks we get on, there's some eagerness with those folks. And then that eagerness carries over to some of the senior folks to get them to respond a little bit more. So it's kind of a weird effect, but the new people that are gung ho ready to go gets those senior guys gung ho ready to go.
Nice.
wow, that's great.
Mayor, I had one other too. One of the things that we discussed last time was the ISO rating. Where do we stand on that? That was an item of concern.
Yeah, so the ISO, we went through a year-long effort they gave us a year time frame to try and fix everything to keep our ISO rating at a 3. I think we just got official word within the last few weeks that time is up. We did gain points, but we are a couple points shy from maintaining that level 3. So it sounds like unofficially that we're going to be dropping to a level 4. Some of the contributing factors to that is honestly the age of specifically engine 6, because they look at that as a reserve truck. They don't want to see a reserve truck older than 30 years. So that's points against us. Some of the documentation on the training. All of our training, we have to meet NFPA standards. They require a certain number of hours per person per standard. So for an example, company officer training, right? If they require 15 hours per person, we can do a single training that covers firefighter 1 training, company officer level, incident command training, all that. They'll only accept those hours for one of those standards. So I'm confident that we're training to the standards and we're staying proficient in everything. But the way the ISO looks at it is we're not meeting the minimum hours per standard. I don't know, that probably confused you a little bit, but.
No, I think it's, sadly, I was thinking about another thing while I'm listening too, because I don't want to dive too deep if it's unofficial yet. I assume you'll get an official communication from them. And then perhaps at Mayor, then we can have a more in-depth conversation. So I'm not surprising you with a question here and we don't yet have their communication back to us, but that would be helpful to know, like, what did we, I trust that you did everything you could in that year to get us back up or to maintain the 3. So now perhaps more conversations warranted of like, how do we communicate to the community what this means and then what can we do? Within our means.
Yeah, and our fire administrator, Chris Johnson, he was heavy in that, working on all that. So we'll need to bring him into that
Perfect.
conversation.
Yeah, let's do that instead of today.
Certainly, but I have not seen the official letter, I guess, indicating where all the points are missing, essentially.
Okay.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Mayor.
Yeah, keep us in the loop for that.
Yeah.
And again, appreciate the effort to try to keep it at ISO 3 and
Yeah.
there's things outside of your control. I get it.
It is, and we're not the only ones, right? The last time we went through an audit, it seems like everybody in the state bumped up a notch. And this go, it seems like everybody's dropping again. So I can't answer the reason to that, different evaluator, different people within the system or whatever, but it seems every time we go through this, we're falling in line with the rest of the state of what's happening within their departments.
Other questions for the chief?
Sorry. Lastly, and then I'll turn my mic off. I'll just.
Yeah, sure you will.
I promise. So engine 6, obviously being a factor there for the ISO rating, as you named. In budgeting, we had a short conversation about, it's $1 million. We're trying to get that grant. We haven't successfully gotten that grant yet. And I forget how it came up, but I think we had a staff conversation about like some specialized training in that specific granting agency and going to that we used to have somebody go get that training. And perhaps that would be something we could address. I don't know if that would happen within City Hall staff or within the department, but if you have any thoughts on how we can be more competitive with that grant, I think. Very welcome.
That particular grant, again, that's through the AFG. Trying to get apparatus through AFG is extremely difficult.
Okay.
They rarely award to that. I don't know of any other grants for apparatus. I know for Lander, with the ladder truck specifically, that funding predominantly came from the SLIB, through the SLIB board and in that process. So yeah, as far as grant writing training, I know there's folks within the city that has certainly helped out. We share with other departments to help make sure verbiage is right and all that.
Great.
But I think for apparatus, it's just hard to get through AFG.
So you believe that our funding, like our allocations, are the answer for that engine? Some degree of savings year over year? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Savings are working with the state on SLIB stuff or whatever other funding opportunities you guys may be aware of that.
Perhaps
that
other
I'm
grant.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, certainly keep an eye out. Lance, jump in.
Yeah, Sheridan just received 710,000 for one of their trucks from MRG through the SLIB board. And so it's 100% matching. And so you need to come up with the other 50%. And so that's, I think, what that program's running now. We haven't gone after MRG money for a while, but you have to have enough on the other side of it to match what they're asking. And we can look into that more, but I think that's what you're saying we did before with the SLIB board. And that is an opportunity to look at that. So if that's something you guys want to pursue, but we need to have our side of the money too.
Anyone else with questions for the chief? I mean, you got 2 folks all up here who have inside scoop. So,
Right.
yeah. So great. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate that. And again, thanks for the 365-day coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for the time, and I'll pass everything on to the membership.
All right. So Hunter,
Would you guys prefer I come up front or?
whatever works for you.
Well, since I've kind of got a bum leg from playing baseball at South Pass, I would prefer to sit if I can, but yeah, I'm happy to come up front if you prefer. Yeah, it's a tall order to follow up the juvenile justice gals and the work they do in the fire department, and what they do to talk about building permits. So thanks for getting me on the agenda behind these guys. I'll throw a little bit of numbers at you. I'll keep it very topical, very short. I know the meeting's already getting kind of long and maybe dying by PowerPoint without PowerPoint. I pulled some quick data. We scanned in old building permits clear back into the 60s, I believe, and got them logged into a spreadsheet to be able to track them. I just pulled back to 2021, where we had 95 building permits in 2021, 89 permits in 2022. I came on board in 22, 23, and that's when we had 338 permits. 24, we had 451 permits. 25, we had 454 permits. We've had 220 issued to this point this year. So it's kind of the pace we're at with what building permits are. I don't want that to be looked at as more bureaucracy, more steps people have to take, but what it does offer is a lot more safety, a lot more hopefully safer buildings that fire departments are working with fire barriers within walls and setbacks between buildings and fireproof structures, ANSEL systems built into commercial buildings. It's offering a lot of safety. I have both my building inspector and my fire administrator out this next 2 weeks. So I get to wear both of their hats this week too. And so I got to go do inspections for Dustin these last 2 days and was able to see and hear a lot of appreciation for contractors that are holding permits, for the differences between Lander and other communities that they work in, and the quality and the concise measures of which we've landed at this point with what the building permit process is and the inspection processes too. So I just pulled off of our website right on our front page. I put that in our packets with kind of what a building permit application looks like. And I know many of you guys have pulled them up here on the council, and thank you for that, or your contractors have. But here's what an application looks like. Hopefully it's as straightforward as possible. We also made a kind of a quick punch list with bullet points that shows step by step of what it looks like to apply for a building permit, what the forms look like for the lay person that may not know what that exactly is, or for the contractor that wasn't used to the process. And it's very helpful to kind of show people with what steps 1 through. Yes. Yeah.
And John, can you use your microphone also?
Can you get us a page number?
Sure, of course. Yep. So I wrote them on here. So you're in your packet, page 49 is where your applications are.
Okay.
Sorry, 49 and 50. Page 51 and 52 is that quick checklist of for residential and commercial structures and kind of what you need to see.
Okay.
And I can, during a work session, I'd be happy to elaborate more on this. We've talked about field trips and how, going to the airport was kind of cool. Going up to the water tank was kind of cool. This is kind of a virtual walk through the building department, but if it's helpful during a work session to actually make a hypothetical building permit or building project and work our way through it, I'm happy to do that too, to show transparency with that process. Page 45 in there is what it looks like to apply for a general contractor. And that's everything from a homeowner that wants to be able to build their own house all the way up to somebody who wants to do major commercial projects. So a contractor 1 is on the higher end where you're going to do commercial large projects, and a 5 is down to where you're going to build your own house. And then there's a little bit of kind of descriptions within each one of those as to what that license is. And where it has that column calls it ICC test, there's actually a certification test that you'll take to show that you have that wherewithal to be able to perform those tasks too as you go out there and do that work. It's a pretty standardized test and certification nationwide for what contractors do use out there. On page 57 within that packet is just the resolution 1388 that actually has the fees that are in there too that we've adopted. And so those are transparent and straightforward for people to be able to find that stuff as much as possible. And maybe we can refine that process better to make this a little easier for folks to kind of see all this from their own couches. We're working on we have a software we've been working through of trying to make an online version to where you can, much like your hunting licenses you would apply for, is be able to apply for this from your couch, pay from your couch, and get it sorted out from your couch. And that's a software called Cloud Permit. And we're just trying to refine that to make it as user-friendly as possible, to not be working IT support and trying to be able to process permits and do our inspections at the same time too. So we're in beta testing on that right now. We're very close to rolling that out. That's a whole lot really quickly. Are there any questions about that, or would you guys like me to expand more upon this, or can I answer any questions? Because I do hear in the public that there are contractors that are having issues with building or that processes take too long or things that are out there. And I would love to be able to resolve this kind of stuff and make it simpler for folks to understand too.
Yeah. So when do you anticipate being able to show us a beta test of the online permit? Because I think that would be informative for us and, you know, knowing it's not necessarily the system, but it would be nice to see that.
Sure. I can get you guys users passwords, and you guys can actually do it from your own homes that aren't going to mess up the database up in our system. But I love using my spouse is kind of my guinea pig for a lot of, if she can figure this out, many people should be able to figure this out. I try to mean that in like, I try to say that as politely as possible. But I had to help her today with do some software things too. So, but if folks can have some feedback as to, is this too complicated or not? Does this share too much of your information or not? What stuff do we need out there? What is the basis for it? I guess along the lines of software, the actually plan reviewing these projects, we have a GIS software that we've worked really hard with getting our easements that are in town, our water and sewer lines that are in town, our zoning that is in town, so we can actually see an address, see what's all underground in there, see what overlapping easements that have been scanned in through the county's website to be able to make sure we don't build over utility easements that existed from 1942. So these are all processes on our end that do take that 1 to 3 weeks to review permits a lot of times, is making sure you're not placing your addition over an existing utility easement, or that there is water and sewer off that side of the house you're planning on going to as well. I would love to share that, but what I'm fearful of is that's probably not a public facing thing, because it does show our city infrastructure, and it is apt for terrorist attack to have a lot of our vulnerabilities posted up there on the website too. So that is something I'm happy to show council on our desktop, but not something I would post publicly.
Yeah. And I would recommend doing that, having seen a brief bit of it. It is fascinating. And this is when we started 8 years ago, strategic plan, and we had that keeper of the keys idea of, we didn't know where all of our mains were, where of our service lines, all that type of stuff. And to now have that and be able to look at, oh, that's a prescriptive power line easement, that's a, you know, a general utility easement, et cetera, and see that all those layers together is incredibly helpful for what Hunter was just saying. It's a pretty neat thing. And even in just a few minutes, you can get a sense of the power of that tool for all of these processes.
Mayor.
Councilmember Larson.
Yes, Hunter, I'm just curious. We knew when we first jumped into the new permitting process that things was going to be a little rough for a while. Do you feel like that it's improving?
I truly do. I'm talking to all the contractors that I speak with, that they appreciate a good, robust system, that it's concise, it's not changing constantly with what the rules and parameters are, that it's an even playing field from one contractor A to contractor B. I haven't heard the downsides of it. I hear there's rumors that there are downsides, but I just haven't heard what those are. And if anybody wants to share those with me, I would love to resolve those or have a cup of coffee with whoever may be having issues with them.
Oh.
We've offered open houses. At every open house we have, I sit at the table for 3 hours and haven't had anybody come and talk to us, particularly about issues that they've had at those.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Hunter.
Thank
Much
you.
appreciated. Before we get into the last section here, folks, good? We've been here for 2 hours. Good to keep cranking through? Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. In that case, first up is approve and authorize the mayor to sign the Juvenile Justice Services of Fremont County Agreement for FY 2026 to 2027. We get a motion in a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Larson and seconded by Councilmember Stubble. Thank you, Councilmember Cox, for pointing out page 4. We need to change the dates of it. Any other
Need to do an amendment to it or?
You can do an amendment to change those. I just missed the date, so I apologize for that. I did update the agreement from previous years that we've done it to add a little
Yeah.
bit more legal language in there for governmental immunity and things of
Yeah.
that nature. So nothing too substantial. It's still the same agreement, just in a different format with a little bit more legal language.
Yeah,
That looks good. Great.
but yeah, we
Do
can.
we want to make an amendment just to
Well,
make it crisp and clean?
Yes, so I just move that we amend the agreement to change, and I have a bit of an issue because I don't know what page
It's
number
page
it's on.
4.
Page 4,
The-
where it reads 2024 and 2025, that it be changed to 2026, 2027.
Great. Moved by Councilmember Cox. Can we get a second on that? This is page 4, item 3, term.
Second.
Then moved by Councilmember Cox, seconded by Councilmember Larson. We'll call for the question on the amendment. Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
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 Great, that passes. And any other questions on the contract as a whole?
No, it looks good.
Okay, and then we'll start with you, Councilmember Stubble.
Yes.
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 Great, that passes. Next up is item B, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the Star Playground sales order and addendum to Star Playground agreement for the purchase of 2 post-hip fabric shades and installation. Motion in a second, please.
So moved.
Anyone for a second?
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Cox with a second by Councilmember Han. This is one of our very last LOR grants of all the wonderful things they've done. This came from individuals. They applied for it. So same thing. We'll purchase it. It's going to be installed and then we will get reimbursed. And any questions on this?
I think that's a good point that you make, that this was done by a community member. It's at the dog park. They received the grant from the Lore Foundation. We partner, and then that's reimbursed to us. I would imagine to provide shade for the dogs.
Yeah, and I think it's also for the humans hanging out with their dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
Yep. Councilmember Han.
Yeah, I've just got a comment. I actually think those sales, those sail shades are really cool.
Yeah.
But I actually, I got a lot of negativity. I had a lot of calls. People did not want them. And I don't know if it was they didn't want them because they don't want them, or they didn't want them because it was going to cost 10 or 15,000. I don't know that answer, but there was actually people that got a hold of me and didn't want them. And I don't know what the reason was.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, if it is about the cost, then please relay to them that it's not city dollars, it's entirely from the LOR grant.
Yeah, and I don't know,
so-
I'm not sure
Yeah.
what, I personally like them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be a nice addition. It's pretty stark out there, especially these days, right now. Any other comments, question? Hunter?
Just some solace that may help you too, Councilman Hahn, is it's the same shade that's at the dirt jump park where the bikes are. It's the same exact shade that's going to go in at the dog parks too. So if they needed to see what it looks like, that's what it is that same one there.
Okay.
Thanks for pointing that out.
I just follow up. Thank you, Mayor. I think some of the complaints that I hear is just sort of the abruptness to it, where the communication of it kind of just comes and we're not really aware of it, even though it's talked about, but it's like, okay, there's this playground stuff, and then it can drive some misinformation, which was nice that I was able to get the correct information today from Rochelle. So I appreciate that I was set straight about what it is. So thank you for that.
Great. Okay. Any other comments?
Mayor, I'll make a quick one. I mean, again, I'm so pleased it's 100% reimbursement and that it includes installation, which I think came out of some negotiation from our excellent staff to include that. So it's not even hey, we're getting this piece of equipment, but we're going to have to invest staff time in installation. That's part of this 100% coverage from the Lore Foundation. So I think a really positive example of a project, much needed in the area, citizen driven, and $0, including staff time from the city. So pleased to see this go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, not cheap, but a nice addition. Okay, we'll call for the question, starting with you, Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
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 Okay, that passes. Next up, item C, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the wayfinding signage ownership and responsibility agreement. So get a motion in a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Cox, seconded by Councilmember Larson. Adam, why don't you fill us in on this since this is
This is an agreement for the signs that have come up around our town that show where specific things are. They were installed by Wind River Visitors Council. And this is an agreement that once they're installed, the city will take over ownership and identify responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. So there was some negotiating back and forth as last week with their legal counsel on some of the language. They wanted to be indemnified, which we said no. So I've updated that, they've approved it, and this is the final product.
right? And again, this was Department of Tourism dollars that came to the Visitors Council, not ours. And I don't know if you added this, Adam, but I'm glad to see this on item 7, the end of life, the useful life of signs. I appreciate, like, when they're done, and we don't have this in perpetuity trying to keep them up. So I hope it lasts a while, but yeah. Any other comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for the question, starting with you, Councilmember Han.
Yes.
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 Okay, that passes. Item D, approve new restaurant liquor license number 11, Didamello LLC, DBA Ella's Mediterranean Cuisine, 175 North 4th Street, Lander, Wyoming, 82520. Application filed on 21st day of May, 2026. Proposed location, 175 North 4th Street, Lander, Wyoming, Block 15, North 100 of lots 1 and 2, original town of Lander. We get a motion in a second.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Larson, seconded by Councilmember Cox. Any questions, discussion on this one? No? Okay. Seeing none, Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
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 Motion passes. Item E, approve Resolution 1394, approving and adopting the Police Department Support Services Coordinator job description and superseding and replacing the job description for the position of Police Department Records Clerk. We get a motion and a second on this one, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Stubble and seconded by Councilmember Josh Hahn. So, Chief, how about if you give us questions on this, because there was a whole lot of red line in this one.
Well, thanks to Rochelle, we've done in the past, we try and give you what it was, and then we give you with all the red lines of what it would change to. It was a lot. I understand that. So before council, I handed you out these 2 handouts that break down the differences between the two, what it used to be and what it is now, and what those classifications mean. To me, that's a lot cleaner and a lot faster for you to see the differences versus Rochelle or myself sitting here and explaining to you every single difference and why it's there.
I'll take your word for it.
John, this is easier than the policy. Come on.
I do have a question.
Yep, Councilmember Cox has some questions.
Thank you. This comparison document is really helpful. I have a couple of concerns and these are going to be hopefully questions so I'll draw attention to the decision-making authority. The first comment I want to make is we've hired somebody who far exceeded the original job description with their expertise and experience that they brought, which is really cool. But in this decision-making authority, it says exercises significant independent judgment regarding compliance, records release, technology administration, operational coordination. My concern would be that language causes some pause for me. Independent judgment, great for the person in the position currently, maybe not if there's another person. So what is the oversight? Because independent judgment can sometimes not have a CYA component.
And I don't want to leave this position susceptible to, say there was a inadvertent release of information that shouldn't be. So I'd like something in there that allows, I don't know if that's getting too much into the weeds, but I would be concerned about that. The other thing that I was thinking of is it's very specific. And in job descriptions, is it better to be more vague? For now, this person has all of these qualities, but in the future, I mean, that seems
Well, I
very
think-
specific.
So to answer your first question on decision-making authority, a lot of that falls back on the policy that you've approved in regards to records management, who should have it, why they should have it, and when they shouldn't have it. One of Rachel's favorite statements is, you can spy on your government, but you can't use your government to spy on your neighbor. And that's kind of the stance of where we're at with this, of who gets that information and why, who redacts it, how do they redact it. So to me, you have to have this specialized training and expertise and understanding of the criminal justice system, CJIS compliance, records management of what we can to release to people and why and how. So to me, that decision-making is more on her to decide, does this fit underneath, one, what's Wyoming state statutes say we can and can't give? Two, what has to be redacted, what doesn't have to be redacted? So to me, that's pretty important. The second answer, to me, I guess I understand your stance on being very specific in a job description. And I do that because my personal opinion is I'm opposed to the and all other duties assigned. I don't like just that broad statement of and all other duties assigned. This position, yes, we landed, in my opinion, a unicorn in this position that we have right now with her knowledge, training, and experience. But I also feel like because we've done the work to bring YCJIS compliant back to the Lander Police Department, that we now have our own NCIC terminal at the Lander Police Department that we utilize, we have to follow these rules. So we've got to set the standard that this is where it has to be moving forward, or we're going to lose all of that again.
Just a follow-up, Mayor, would it be then to say that instead of independent judgment, that it would be decision-making per policy?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. And I would be lying to you if I told you I read all the red lines in reference to what this says. Is it clearly stated in that job description that way as well, or is that just in the comparison?
Well, that's a
Yeah.
good question.
So,
I
and
don't-
I get where you're coming from, Councilmember Cox. Given the specificity of this particular job and the different databases and protocols and whatnot, this is one where I would say it's better to have the specificity in the job description, because I think about future hiring, and you would want questions that are specifically built towards this level of specificity, either have or are going to get training for within a designated time. And in the records management and public records, the first portion on the second page, the second bullet point is process, review, redact, and release public records and law enforcement records in compliance with applicable laws and department policy. So I think it is covered there. But I think that's an important thing to note. Other questions about the position description?
Mayor, not a question, but a comment in favor of specificity also, again, for trying to reduce any miscommunication between supervisor and staff members, for not having different expectations between what other duties as assigned might look like. So I'd love to see us make sure that when we have to have that disclaimer on any job description, it's, less than 5% of that person's time is other duties as assigned. And we try to be honestly this specific. I don't have any concerns that we wouldn't be able to find a future person who can meet this, all these qualifications, because we wouldn't hire them for the job. If we had an open position for this and this was our job description for this job, then we would make a hire based on them being the most highly qualified person to match these. So we would, as you do with any job, if you don't meet the job description and don't have the requirements, we would continue the hiring process. So I think we'd land somebody who, I don't want to talk about the eventuality perhaps that one day we have an open position here, but if we did, we'd we'd hire for these skill sets.
Or in some of our things requirement of you need to achieve X level of certification
Yeah,
by Y date.
exactly.
Type thing.
And of course, we wouldn't hire somebody if they didn't meet the job description, but this job description is so specific that it leads me to believe that it's developed for a person, not a job. And that's where I have the problem with it.
Oh, gotcha.
I think future, I guess I hear both of you and I understand both of you. I think in the future, when you release this job opening and you put the requirements, you add that additive or be able to obtain these certifications within X amount of time. And that becomes in the offering of the job when you put it out.
Okay.
Which means we'll have to change it later because it's not currently in there. So.
In that case,
That-
let's change that now then. Like, this is when we approve the job description. If that's just a sentence we need to add, and I imagine most folks would agree with that, let's add it.
Yeah, Chief, what would be an expected time frame if there was a right culture fit, but they didn't have all the skills? What would be an appropriate time frame?
So it depends on, because you can't hear her. She told me if I made her talk on the microphone, she was gonna gut me. And if we're being honest, I'm terrified of her, of everybody in the room. But I think 1 year is more than ample. I think NIBRs you can have within 6 months, CGIS compliance you can have within 6 months. So if we give them a year, so they have that year to get it done, and in lieu of giving them, hey, we hired you, congratulations, you now have back to back to back to back things for the next 6 months before you can even settle in and learn the job and get to know who's here.
So then,
Okay.
Mayor,
So, and Rochelle, actually, I'm going to interrupt. So Rochelle, would this be something in the position description, or is this when we advertise the job stating you would need to either have these qualifications or be able and willing to acquire them within a 1 year time frame? Where was the most appropriate place for that position description, or when the job is advertised?
I'm looking at the minimum qualifications as set forth in the red line version.
Okay.
And that doesn't require any specific certifications. And then in the preferred, it talks about, okay, certification requirements. There they are. Okay.
Yeah, it says must obtain and maintain as required.
Correct. And that says obtain. So you could, the way it's written now, there is no time frame. It just says obtain. So you could move to amend and say obtain within 1 year. So you could add that language right there.
Seems fair enough.
so move to an amendment.
Okay, so we have an amendment for must obtain within 1 year and maintain as required under certifications and requirements. So can we vote on the amendment? Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it passes with 1 no. That's the amendment, which was made by Councilmember Stubble, seconded by Councilmember Larson. Any other discussion before we vote on the job description as a whole?
I just want to note that I will be voting no for this, not because I don't think that this is an appropriate for the person in the position, but I don't think long-term or future,
Concern.
it's addressed my concerns. So.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah. Okay, Councilmember Han, we'll start with you.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
And again, that passes. Item F, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the County 10 Community Partnership Advertising Agreement from August 1, 2026 through July 31, 2027. Motion in a second, please.
So
Move
moved.
to approve.
Oh.
Okay,
Second.
moved by Councilmember Dan Han with a second by Councilmember Josh Han. This is something I think we've seen for a few years in a row. Any questions on this? Okay, we'll call for the question. Councilmember Han?
Yes.
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 Great, that passes. And then next up, and last up, approve the 5-year lease agreement for Hom body worn camera equipment between the City of Lander and Vantage Financial in the annual amount of $63,618 and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents. So get a motion and a second for this one, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
So moved by Councilmember Josh Hahn, seconded by Councilmember Dan Hahn. So we got the red line provided. This was one of the issues our legal counsel was working on for quite a bit. So this is, it seems like, Adam, let's turn it over to you to explain where we're at with that contract process and your level of comfort with it.
So the contract came to me a couple weeks ago, and I pointed out a few of the major issues. We went back and forth. They finally sent me the Word version so I can make some edits. Primarily, it was indemnification language, choice of law and venue, which originally they had Minnesota in there. I changed it to Wyoming, and insurance issues in terms of what was lawful in the state of Wyoming. We can't name another party because we have LGLP as our insured. Right. So those changes were the ones that I made. I spoke with their representative today. They said that they would be fine with the changes that I made, and we can move on voting on this with those modifications.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying, and thanks. I know that was a lot of back and forth.
It was.
Trying to get the right info for that. So any other questions about this? Okay, see none. Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
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 And that motion passes. So last but not least, we need a motion to adjourn. Who's going for it?
Move to adjourn?
I'm surprised that wasn't like, synod,
For being polite.
okay, so moved by Councilmember Cox. Can we get a second?
Yep.
I second yep by Councilmember Larson, and call for the question. Councilmember Hahn.
Yes.
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 Great. We will see you on the 28th.